Hey, what's going on guys? Arekkz here, and today I want to talk about a game that you need to have on your radar. This gameplay video, 13 minutes of gameplay, dropped today for a game called Black Myth Wukong. Now, already, before I even saw the game, I was interested, right? I am a massive Wukong fanboy, right? If your game has Wukong in, I'm just gonna be there. I don't play Fortnite, but I still downloaded it just so I could buy the Wukong skin. When I used to play League of Legends, I was a Wukong main. I love the whole sort of Journey to the West story and whatnot, you know, any of the kind of martial art films that have actually got Wukong in. I just love him as a character. It also kind of goes hand in hand with the fact that I just like monkeys and apes. They're kind of just my favorite animals. Anyway, that to one side, if your game has Wukong, I'm kind of interested. However, that being said, there have been Wukong games in the past that have just been a bit rubbish, but this is not one of those. This game looks incredible. In the background is some of the gameplay running right now. In a minute, I will give you guys a chance to just watch the gameplay for yourself. Now, I'll be honest, right now, not a great deal is known about this game. This gameplay video just dropped today, out of nowhere, and, you know, it dropped like this morning, and there was basically no views on it because a lot of people right now just didn't even know what this game is. It just came out of nowhere. It's a Chinese developer working on this. The studio is called Game Science, and this, from what we can kind of gather, is basically their take on a sort of, you know, action RPG in the Wukong setting. Now, a lot of people have kind of likened it to sort of their take on a Souls game. I'll be honest, I'd probably more liken this, at least from what I've seen so far, more to something like God of War. The reason I say that is because from the gameplay they shared, I don't really see any Souls aspects. Yes, you have the kind of weighty combat. Yes, you have some of those impressive large boss battles where, you know, you have the health bar, and obviously they have those cool introductions, and they are definitely quite ominous in the way they're presented. You know, you can definitely, I can see where people have drawn these Souls comparisons, but I will say from the gameplay, I haven't necessarily seen anything where, you know, killing enemies sees you collect souls, upon dying you then lose everything. You know, that kind of typical Souls trope I haven't seen presented in this gameplay. Doesn't mean to say it doesn't exist, and to lend potential credence to that, there is kind of a tagline for the game which says, "Don't fear death, fear a life unlived," which kind of has that sort of prepare to die vibe to it, but again, it could just be a line. The point is, from what we've seen, we have a visually impressive, very impressive looking game. This is almost one of those kind of like next-gen looking titles. The gameplay looks fantastic, the weight of the combat looks awesome, you have all these different abilities. Right at the beginning, we see, you know, Wukong taking the form of this bee or this hornet kind of flying through as like a means to traverse, then you drop in, you have your very kind of weighty, typical combat. We see parries in this, we see loads of over-the-top abilities, which are very sort of true to Wukong, obviously working with the bow staff and whatnot, plenty of like flipping into the sky, even the voice in the game, like it's definitely kind of, you know, getting the character right. But then when you fast forward to some of the bosses and you see some of these, you know, again, like I can see where people have drawn these comparisons. There's some kind of Sekiro vibes from like some of the enemies you see and things like that. However, I think, you know, part of the reason that I've said it's much more like action, say a la God of War, than it is Souls-like is because some of the combat sections have large groups of enemies. Typically in these Soul-style games, you have limited, say one-on-one or like, you know, few enemies on one combat, whereas there are some elements in this where they just throw hundreds of enemies at you. So you've kind of on one aspect got that very considered weighty combat from like an action RPG, and on the other hand, there are some sections which look borderline hack and slash because you're just laying waste to hundreds of enemies. But either way, it looks fantastic. There's some really cool gameplay elements in here. Obviously, you go through, it seems like depending on the enemies you defeat, sometimes you can obtain their powers. There's an enemy early on that you fight, and once you defeat him, you can then actually take his weapon, and you can see that in the UI, you get your ability added there, and later on you can then call on this. You can call on like Wukong's version of shadow clones. There's later parts where you can fly in the cloud. Like, so many things. This honestly looks fantastic. I'm incredibly excited from this alone, and again, as mentioned, while we don't have too much to go on right now, the studio have said that they are quote-unquote targeting PC and all mainstream host platforms. So while right now we don't necessarily have a particular call out like coming to PS5, coming to Xbox Series X, you know, it is predominantly PC right now, they are obviously targeting all these different platforms, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see it land on, say, some of the next generation titles. If they could drop it this year, you know, I have no idea how far along this is in development. I have no idea how long they've been working on this because, as mentioned, you know, this trailer dropped out of nowhere and we have very little information to go on. But either way, this is one to watch. Anyway, enough talking for the time being. I'm going to let you guys watch the gameplay from the start. It is incredibly impressive. If you guys are excited for this, stick around because I'm going to be following this game incredibly closely. As and when we find new information, as and when we hear stuff, as and when I get a better idea as to exactly what kind of game this is, I will be sure to let you guys know. But for the time being, watch this. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys are excited. Let me know if you guys have got any questions. And be sure to keep it locked for plenty more.
你们一定都听过关于他的故事。有人说， 他帮唐僧取到了真经，封了斗战胜佛，从此留在了灵山。也有人说，那个成佛的根本不是他，真正的他早就死在了西行路上。还有人说，西游从来都没有发生过，他只不过是说书人杜撰的一只猴子。但我要讲的故事，你们一定没有听过。这个故事得从一只金蝉说起。
个酒坛，不知道里面还有没有存酒。
你别馋了，误了事儿，小心咱们两个被灵虚真人拿去下酒。
大哥，山门口那边好像传来些响动。
别疑神疑鬼的，我大哥在这儿把守，哪个不识相的会来找死啊？那些狼崽子看不见，别以为就能过了老子这关。不好了，有个毛脸和尚闯进来了！来者何人？敢来此处扰我清修？又是只猴子。施主，不如放下棍棒，也同我学点佛法，如何？莫非就是大王说的那个铁灵人？走，快，跟上！
小猴子，你惊动了这儿的妖精，再往前走可要万万小心。小猴子，来这边。这儿，看这儿。小神是黑风山的土地，在此候你多时了。笑，真笑。再往前走就是观音禅院，当年也是香火鼎盛啊。这可惜 那场大火哟，后来啊，这禅院又被重建了。可人心若是烧没了，修好一座破庙，又有什么用呢？小老儿先走一步，等你过了前面的栈道，咱们自会再见。后院那厮是黑风怪的道友，自称灵虚子。以你现在的道行，走了，小猴子快逃，还来得及。你若进了这道门，便回不了头啦。
Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget, if you haven't already done so, you can join the Arekkz Gaming Discord. We've got an awesome community over there with so many different channels for you to chat loads of different topics and different games. I'm in there, the team's in there. If you guys want to chat with us, find people to play with, it's just in general a great place to be. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our future uploads.